Good morning, everybody. This is Mark Pasikovich. I'm sorry we had some technical difficulties, so some of us might be on the phone with you, which is just as well because I'd rather you not see how I look right now. But this is an important event, and I wasn't going to miss it for the world. Sounds like Leader Willis and Representative Ford have had some recent developments over the weekend with their diplomacy. We are excited to have them on the Medical Cannabis Network. There are hundreds of people listening in. The virtual seats filled out within an hour or two, and you just don't get that into the internet world. So the interest is off the charts, and we are going to have Leader Willis speak and then Representative Ford, unless they want to reverse the order. And then we'll take some questions from the media with Corinne handling those. If everybody is ready, Leader Willis, please go ahead.
Well, thank you and good morning, everybody, for joining us on a Sunday morning. We have done some work. We have never stopped working since the results came out. And so we've been working very closely with the community. We're going to actually do another town hall next week where we're going to hear from more license requesters to hear their stories firsthand. But we are on the process of not only are we going to work towards passing some new legislation, some cleanup legislation, so we don't have to deal with this again. But we also have come up with some very concise ideas of what we can do today going forward to help make this situation better and more equitable across the board to everybody as we go through. And I'm going to let Representative Ford explain those 4 key points that we're hoping to go through so that we can resolve this right now. One of the most important things, though, I want to put up before he goes into what our plan is today going forward is we are not by any means suggesting that the 21 winners get thrown away. We do recognize that they went through the process. They did come up with a plan, and under the guidelines that are in place now, they do qualify. But we want to make sure that we expand that and give everybody an even playing field going forward. And so Representative Ford, if you will explain our 4 points on what we hope to do going forward in the very near future before we have a chance to write legislation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Representative Willis. So we, as members of the legislature, we have a responsibility to respond to situations that we see being a problem in the law. And that's why we're having this press conference today, because we have been made aware of the law that has been passed, that the full intent of the law is not being carried out. So that's why we're here. We have the duty as members of the legislature that voted for this bill that became law to do everything that we can to cure it and to make sure that the intent of the law is carried out. We know that for many years, there has been this war on drugs that has impacted the Black community more than any community in the nation. And there's no difference than in Illinois. Illinois has seen a huge disparity in the number of Black people that have been arrested, jailed. And so the Illinois legislature, with the governor's support, felt that it was a good idea to legalize marijuana to eliminate some of those disparities and give people a real chance at an economy that will allow them to have a business in Illinois selling cannabis. Many people in Illinois in the communities were excited and energized by the economic opportunities presented by the legalization of cannabis, particularly given the legislative intent and the governor's pledge to ensure equity in the industry. For too long, many of my constituents right here on the West Side, however, that excitement has now turned into frustration and bitter disappointment with the way the law has been carried out. We've heard from many people, and so we are here today to offer solutions not just by our own knowledge, but because we have had meetings with many applicants, and we have secured a pledge from attorneys saying that they would drop and dismiss the case in the federal lawsuit that's filed right now if we can exchange the understanding that there are some extremely reasonable measures that we can ensure will make the process fair and allow more people into the lottery that deserve to be in. And so let's go to it. Amongst the most important equalizing provisions, we want you to know that there is a process called a deficiency notice procedure, whereby applicants would be provided an additional opportunity to make corrections if they fell short. Traditionally, insiders, we know, win contests because they have the most industry knowledge or can afford to hire people that can do it for them. Well, the legislature intent was to make sure that this didn't happen. So there was a process in place to allow people 10 days to cure any deficiency that was given to them by the Department of Professional Regulations. And so that is on the application. We help with this social equity applicants complete this process, and it is statute, for those that would like to look it up, statute 410 Illinois CS 705/1530B. That's the dispensary application itself. If the division receives an application that is deficient in any respect, the division will issue a deficiency notice via email to the primary and alternate contact identified on the application form. The applicant will have 10 calendar days from the date the deficiency notice is sent to submit the information requested. In practice, the department sent these deficiency notices during the summer grading process. To take an example, one applicant received a deficiency notice and 10-day opportunity to cure the deficiency that states the following. The applicant did not include the requirement for a description of the features that will provide accessibility as required by the ADA. The application did not include the requirement for the description of the air treatment system that will be installed to reduce odors. The application did not include the required statement that the issuance of license will not have a detrimental impact on the community in which the applicant wishes to locate. To be clear, the applicants that received this deficiency notice was given the opportunity to fix these mistakes and achieve the perfect score necessary for inclusion in the lottery. The problem is plenty of applicants did not receive any such opportunity. Many did not learn that their applications were deemed insufficient until they received notice on September 3rd that they did not win. Another deeply troubling concern is the apparent inconsistencies in the way scores were calculated. Teams that submitted identical exhibits sometimes received different scores. Some of them were deemed perfect, whereas the same document submitted by other teams did not score the maximum points, disqualifying them from the lottery. The same was true for identical exhibits submitted by the same team in different regions. The same team received perfect scores in some regions, but was disqualified others with the exact exhibit. As it stands, there is no process to challenge any of this. Teams that identify these errors of inconsistencies literally have no recourse. And if things had proceeded as scheduled, the lottery would have already happened, and the legitimate grievances would have been null and void moot. These licenses are worth millions of dollars and would be life-changing for applicants who earn them. Among 700 social equity applicant teams invested so much of their time, and we've learned borrowed money and are in debt right now, and they deserve a fair process. Believing that the promise from the governor and the legislature's intent was to make this fair and equitable for everybody. And so what we have agreed with some of the attorneys, there are 4 points that could be agreed upon, we believe. First, as stated, implementation of the statute requirements will help level the playing field so that the industry is not dominated by insiders with specialized knowledge required for these applications. This will ensure that the administration's promise and the legislative intent of true equity are backed by actions. Secondly, it should immediately end the litigation. The attorney handling the case has already agreed to Representative Willis and myself. The attorney that's handling the case in the federal court has already agreed to this solution. While there is another case and other cases that may come on board in the state courts, there is no reason to believe that this solution would not satisfy some of the most pressing issues. And so it is our hope that the third thing that the governor would consider is that he will undoubtedly increase the participation of true social equity applicants. We have already given examples of teams that would qualify for the lottery if given the same opportunity to cure that was provided to others. We have, and we will continue to have confidence that the exact opportunities will be given to everyone so that there is full participation for those that truly qualify. Fourth, it can happen very quickly. Plaintiff's counsel has assured us that he will promptly dismiss the case. The deficiency notice period could start next week and be completed well before the end of September. The lottery could occur as soon as the review is completed. And so finally, this agreement resolution will resolve most of litigation, most of the legitimate complaints. People are undoubtedly going to continue to be unhappy if they don't win, but the proper process will have been followed and any unfairness would be eliminated. And so we believe that our goal is, as legislators, to make sure that the people that apply are given the full opportunity to have their deficiency notice sent in 10 days to remedy and cure their deficiencies. If that happens, then I believe that many of the complaints will go away, and we will be sending a letter to the governor today to this effect. I want to thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to making sure that we continue to make this process fair moving forward and doing everything that we can to correct the law in Illinois. Thank you so very much, and we'll take questions right now from the press.
There's a question right now. It's not from the press. It is from one of our participants. And it's a question that's actually been asked more than once in our chat. And people want to know, will the review be done by the same company that originally scored the apps?
At this point, KMPG still has the contract, so it is not possible to have another company come in and do it. And that's just the way the system's going to go, besides the fact that we want to expedite this as quickly as possible. We'd have to go through a new bid at this point. That is part of what we're looking forward to doing as we go forward in our next rounds. But this round, I think we're unfortunately stuck with them, but hoping for better transparency.
But what's key to this is if the deficiency notices are sent by the department, then the applicants will have a better shot before it goes to KPMG. The key is to make sure that the deficiencies are cured before the scoring process is taking place for the final decision. And the Department of Professional Regulators have the responsibility to do this.
Right. They would be acting as oversight on this much more so. And I think since we brought it to their attention, they're hopefully up to the task.
Okay, there is a question from Mike Forsher from Grown In. His first question is, there are 2 state level cases underway and 1 additional federal case. Are you in contact with those 3 other groups?
I have been in contact with several attorneys, and that's why we're having this press conference also, to make sure that people know that we are here to represent and hear them, so that moving forward, their complaints could be heard, and we can include that in our discussions with the governor.
Okay, and then there's a second part to that question. Is the 3 other cases all call for the elimination of the veteran status bonus point? Would you amend your plan to include that aspect?
That's a part of the law, and that's something that cannot be amended until we get back to Springfield and change the law.
Okay, perfect. And then another question that's come in is, will there be time for applicants to receive their scorecards first to make sure that a deficiency wasn't missed?
And you know, if you could just ask that question one more time, but I do want people to know that there will be lawsuits as it relates to the veterans preference. And if the courts rule that it's unconstitutional, then I support the court's decision. But as it stands for legislatures and the governor will have no ability in the law to take away those points. The courts could rule this unconstitutional, and that would be the only cure to this complaint. And now to the question.
Oh, yes. Will there be time for applicants to receive their scorecards to make sure that a deficiency wasn't missed?
So that's our goal, is to get to the governor and make sure that the governor sends everyone their deficiencies, because we know that there have been people that have been left out of the process of what the law said should take place. We want everyone to get their deficiency notice so that they can cure any deficiencies, so that the score could be as perfect as possible. Remember, it's always important to remember the fact that the deficiency notice came before the scorecard. So we don't want people to get their scorecard but never got their deficiency notice. But if you want your if you want your scorecard, then that's your right to ask for that.
And we also have questions. Does this extend to the Department of Agriculture for grow licenses? Or is it just concentrated in IDFPR?
So this will be, go ahead, Leader Willis.
I was going to say, at this point, we are only looking at the dispensary licenses. That is what the concern and the issues and the problems are. But I would say that if someone sees that there were some issues with the grow licenses, as we get ready to go back to Springfield, we would certainly be open to including any type of cleanup language into that cleanup bill that we're hoping to introduce in the spring. or in veto session.
And I think that the administration, with the full intent to do this right, has learned a lot from the process as it relates to making sure that everyone gets their deficiency notices so that they are scored accurately and have the time to cure their deficiency. So when it comes down to the grow license, I think that the state has learned a valuable lesson to get it right as much as possible with the current statute.
There is another question from Mike Foucher from Grown In. He asked, Senator Heather Staines and Representative Kelly Cassidy, who sponsored and authored the recorded law, have been missing from your precinct or your press conferences. Have you been in contact with them, and are they supportive of your efforts?
Well, I would tell you that I have spoken to Representative Kelly Cassidy. I have not spoken with the senator, and I expect to have full support from Representative Kelly Cassidy in making sure that the cure is something that she's looking for, and that real social equity is achieved. So I don't see her standing in the way of that, and I would expect that that she will also be supporting a trailer bill to make sure that moving forward that we don't have these problems. I have that confidence.
Yeah, we've reached out to a number of our colleagues. You've heard a number of them coming up with the same concerns. And while Representative Ford and myself are taking the lead, we do not expect to be the only ones supporting changes. We're certainly going to be taking the lead going through it, but we are hoping that once the legislation is drafted, that all of our members will be supportive of it.
Absolutely. Some people were calling for whether or not there will be transparency for their applications on the whole. There were some people who were disqualified without notice or didn't receive just a proper explanation for what went wrong with their application. Are you demanding that as well, that transparency from IDFPR on all the applications, regardless of how it was decided?
Yes, we are. That is the key point of it, so that they can see deficiency notices, where and how and what they can do, whether they have time and are able to fix it up for this round or going forward. But we would certainly hope that those that are very close to being perfect scores will be able to just do that little bit of tweaking of their application so that they would qualify along with the 21.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you, Leader Willis. So someone did ask how we would manage to get all of these done by the end of September. Is there a way that you can speak to the timeline of this process?
Well, the longer we wait to send these deficiency notices out, the likelihood of finishing this by the end of September becomes almost impossible. So if we follow the rule of the law and the intent of the law and get these deficiency notices out to people and give them their 10 days to cure, and the governor puts his full force behind making sure all of the notices are reviewed and people are given their scores after they cure their deficiencies, we can do it. It should be a 24/7 task of this government to fix this problem. And so it's possible if the governor has the will to do it.
So there have been a lot of questions about whether or not those who can qualify would include social equity applicants that don't have veteran-owned companies. And I know that that is in the law, but is there anything more that you can speak to that right now?
Well, the question is, if the social equity applicant that's applying could score the perfect score to get in the lottery without a veteran's preference, then that's the hope.
Fantastic. And we also have a question that's coming in from Mark Basikovich. I'll let him ask it. Are we able to unmute him?
He's muted.
Okay.
Corinne, why don't you go ahead and read it if he sent it in?
Let me see if I can grab that from him.
While we wait on Mark's question, we had another question come in that asks, will teams be able to change their ownership structure to add a veteran?
The law doesn't allow that. Right now, our goal is to make sure that the applicants that have applied receive their deficiency notices and 10 days to cure their deficiency and be rescored and receive their final score to enter the lottery. That's what the governor should do. That's what the full administration should be behind, making sure that we don't cheat and try to help people through this process that did not have a certain requirement in. Then that throws it all out of the window, and then we open up a whole can of worms that we don't need to do. So the key is to be fair and allow people that have actually submitted on time an application and give them time to cure it per the law.
And that was a follow-up question. Somebody asked, is there an opportunity to revise the rubric or create a new one for the next round of licensing?
For the next round of licensing, I think you'll see we're hoping to have our cleanup legislation put into there, and that'll certainly be something that we'll be looking at and advising as we go forward. I think you're going to see a lot of changes before the next official round of licensing. Certainly that's our hope, to have it so that we don't have these issues that will be coming through again.
Excellent. And I don't know if this one was answered, but I'll throw it out there. Beth asked, how do applicants ensure that we are part of the social equity groups that are included in the reviews and corrections that hopefully come out of this?
There is no way that an applicant could be missed if the governor's office submits all deficiency notices to everyone. The law says that a deficiency notice must be sent to every applicant and give them 10 days to cure the deficiency. So if that's followed, then everyone will get that notice and have 10 days to cure. And then the answer to that question would be they wouldn't be missed.
A question has just come in from David Ruskin. Is there a deadline for the state to agree to this proposal of issuing new deficiency notices before the scheduled hearing on Thursday?
You know, it's up to the governor to respond and do everything that he can to prevent litigation and to do everything that he can to not use taxpayer dollars and hold up this industry. We don't need this industry to be held up. The longer we hold this industry up, the less likely it would be that we will be able to collect the revenues, create jobs, create new businesses. So we believe that just simply following the letter of the law and issuing deficiency notices and giving the applicants 10 days, that's the quickest way. Otherwise, there's a possibility that this could be held up in federal court for years. And we've seen that in other states. And we don't want to be a state where we've done a lot of work with this industry. So there's no need to keep this tied up in court. Let's just fix it and do the right thing. And I think that everyone would appreciate that.
Another question that
Corinne,
came
can you
in.
hear, Abraham,
Mark.
Corinne, can you hear me? Oh, I'm sorry. Again, technical difficulties, but I'm getting a lot of texts from fellow lobbyists and others about the timing of any legislation. Can you guys, Leader Willis or Representative Ford, confirm there will be a veto session? Where does the legislature stand on that?
So currently, a veto session is set to start November 17th. And I will tell you that if we do go into veto session November 17th, it is Representative Ford's and my intent to have cleanup legislation language ready to go and be voted on during veto session. We have a week of veto the 17th, and then I believe we have a week right after Thanksgiving. At this point, both are scheduled to be on. And if they take place, that is our intent to work this legislation then.
Great. Thank you very much. Abraham, Corinne, what do we got?
Another question that came in, Nona asked, in many cases, KPMG did not award the points even after the 10-day notice was cured. How can we remedy those mistakes made by KPMG?
That's going to be, once the deficiency notices are sent out, and the Department of Professional Regulators must be the oversight. That's a government agency that the governor appoints, and we can make sure that before KPMG receives the opportunity to score, that the applicants had a due process and they were able to receive their deficiencies and time to cure. At that time, KPMG should have an applicant that is ready to be scored. So it's a process that has to start with the Department of Professional Regulators, the Department of Professional Regulators, in order to make sure that this is achieved.
With that, a follow-up question comes in that asks, if people are not able to amend their application to include a veteran, will they still be able to participate in this round's lottery process?
And yeah, I'm sorry, I missed that.
The question was, if people are not able to add a veteran to their application during this round, will they still be able to enter the lottery process, since currently only the perfect scores are able to get in?
You know, I think that it's important to note that there will be people that just will not qualify because they don't have the points. And what we're saying is, let's find out if without your veteran points, if you could qualify. Get your deficiency notice to you, get you time to cure your deficiencies. And if you qualify with all of your cures, then you should move forward. If you needed veteran points, but you didn't have a veteran to qualify, then you don't win. And that's just the way it goes. And I'm all for a fair process. It's not right to give people an opportunity to throw in a veteran because that's going to get them over the top.
Someone mentioned that some of the winning applications potentially had gotten scores for veterans, even though they did not have a veteran on the team, and similar inconsistencies had been reported. Do you think that there will be an audit or review of those applications as well?
Well, I think the governor is going to review all of these situations, and we're so happy to learn of that. I spoke of some inconsistencies in the application process by regions as well. So we, Representative Willis and I, we have and continue to raise these inconsistencies with the administration. And we do hope that the governor recognize these before moving forward so that he can have one of the best cannabis laws and processes in the nation.
Just a quick time check with Leader Willis and Representative Ford. Are you there? I'm sure there are a lot of questions online. Are you guys okay to stay on and answer more questions?
I've got about 5 more minutes. I'd be happy to do that. And then I would encourage anyone else to join us on Wednesday when we do our town hall again.
And we'll get details out on that as soon as we nail them down, probably in the next 24 hours or so. I think you guys were talking about a 2 p.m. Event on Wednesday, just, to give people some lead time. Is that what you're thinking?
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Great.
Just for the information, Mark, that meeting is going to be to talk about policy as well, so that people recognize that we're going to be talking about policy after
to talk about the problems,
and so people should be prepared. Yeah, people should be prepared when they come to that town hall meeting to give us all the information that we need to go into our legislative policy meeting with our lawyers to craft policy changes for the trailer bill. The town hall that we plan to have on Wednesday will be to hear from applicants, to hear from lobbyists, to hear from everyone with an interest in correcting the legislation moving forward. Today's press conference is about making sure that moving forward with the current applicants, that we are able to make sure that it's fair and that the governor not move forward until everyone receives their deficiency notice, scorecards, and the opportunity to cure. Now, Wednesday, our plan is to make sure that all stakeholders, people come together for the town hall. We will take notes, then we would immediately go into a meeting with the lawyers to draft legislation to file for a fix in this law.
Excellent. Corinne, do you see any other questions that are coming in?
Yes, a lot of questions speak to the awarding of the current 21 winners and deficiencies and sort of the grading job that KPMG has done. That seems to be like a consistent theme throughout all of the questions that have been placed by our viewers. And I know that we've spoken to that. Is there anything about that that you guys would like to add? I know as of right now, to clarify, the 21 current winners will not be under review. They will stay outside of that.
Well, to be clear, it's not my push to push the 21 out. It's not Leader Willis push to push them out. It's our push just to make sure that everyone that applied received their social, that received their deficiency notices and a chance to cure 10 days. I don't know what the governor plans to do, if he's planning to investigate whether or not the 21 that's got in morally and correctly, but that's not our push. That's not.
Okay, do we have any more questions that we're gonna, I think Leader Willis pretty much has to go at this point. If it's okay with you, Leader Willis, any final comments? We already know Wednesday, 2 p.m. We'll have a Zoom and Facebook Live platform to carry you guys live with that, and we will have a mechanism to sign up those folks who want to speak. Other than that, for today, any other thoughts, Leader Willis, Representative Ford?
I just want to thank everybody for tuning in with us on a Sunday morning. before football games, and also to know that our intent continues to be what it's been all around, to open up a level of transparency that we felt was lacking in this. It is not, and I can't stress this enough, it is not to disqualify the 21 that sent in their applications, but to certainly look at the others to see what we can do by following the letter of the law that is in there, by giving them their deficiency notices, allowing them to make those corrections in a timely manner, and to continue to go forward, but with awarding the licenses. With all of that in play, I think we will be able to see that we'll have a much more even playing field. We are also going to continue our work going forward so that we don't have to deal with this every time, that we actually make sure that the intent of the law is followed, making sure that we have all of those licensees follow the same rules, the same patterns, and that we can actually make sure that we follow a social equity platform that we want Illinois to be very proud of. That is our intent. We want to show that we can do it and make Illinois one of the forefront and the best in making sure we award these licenses to our community holders that qualify. And I would thank you all for that now, and I'm looking forward for all of us to continue this work. Representative Ford and I certainly appreciate your time and effort, and we are here to serve you, and we will continue to do so.
And to just be clear, we want to make sure that the governor knows that we have been working with applicants, their attorneys, and we look forward to working with other attorneys to find a solution outside of the court so that we can do everything that we can to get this business industry off and running in the most socially economic and social equity platform that we intended for it to be. And so if the governor wants to do that, we have some solutions, and we have agreements from some of the attorneys saying that they would drop the lawsuit if we just simply send deficiency notices out to applicants, allow them 10 days to cure and score, and then the lottery pool could increase. It's as simple as that. We will get this letter to the governor, and we hope that it makes a difference. Thank you all for tuning in, and we look forward to working with all of the interested parties on this issue.
Thank you, Representative Ford, and thank you, Representative Willis. We really appreciate your leadership and your championship on behalf of the medical cannabis community. I'll just close with this one parting thought as a consumer, that for every license held up, there is a consumer who doesn't have what they want or are paying more than they should. So these licenses and getting them out is urgent. For every grow license that's held up, there are patients who are not able to get medicine, consumers who are not able to get medicine. So your efforts to wrap this up are really important to literally, well, you've seen the sales figures, so you know, and we appreciate your advocacy. Thank you. And goodbye. Thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Hope you all have a good rest of your day. Thank you so much for coming, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a good rest of your day.